A group of extraordinary individuals with incredible powers, teleportation, invisibility, and telekinesis, found themselves in a fierce battle against an underground organization dedicated to capturing superhumans for research. The story begins with a black woman desperately trying to escape a research facility. Just as her efforts are noticed, a heavily armed team is dispatched to apprehend her. At a locked gate, she seems to awaken a dormant superpower. As her eyes shimmer with newfound energy, she unleashes a powerful strike, obliterating the iron door. However, before she can celebrate her escape, the armed team closes in from behind and shoots her down without hesitation. Surrounding her are other victims, all black individuals, trapped in the facility as subjects of research to awaken their abilities. Meanwhile, Michael, a delivery driver, is content with his job. He playfully flirts with a girl walking alongside him, drawing her attention with his flashy new sports car. Unbeknownst to him, the girl is Dion, his girlfriend from long ago. The car was actually a gift he bought for her, a gesture of love and admiration. In another part of the city, Andre struggles with financial difficulties. Every decision he makes is for his small family. However, when he hands his wife, Elsa, a sum of money, she remains dissatisfied. Unbeknownst to her, Andre had to take out a risky loan to gather that money. After their tense conversation, both parents decide to keep their struggles hidden from their young son. After Elsa storms out, leaving Andre and their son behind, Andre decides to show his love by gifting his son the latest smartphone. This gesture reveals just how much he cares for his child, even amidst their struggles. That evening, a party for the black community is underway, but it is interrupted by a group of uninvited young men. They have come to confront a rival, an infamous figure known as Taser. His presence is unwelcome and the tension in the room escalates. The group is known as the Tower Boy Gang, and their reputation precedes them. As the atmosphere thickens, another gang, the Sixers, arrives, seemingly eager to settle a score. They demand that Taser step outside, provoking him further. The taunts escalate, leading Taser to accept the challenge. Soon, both gangs spill into the street for a confrontation. A fight erupts, fists and insults fly. It doesn't take long for Taser to find himself overwhelmed and knocked to the ground. Just as the chaos reaches its peak, police sirens blare in the distance, forcing both gangs to scatter in panic. As dawn breaks, Michael resumes his routine delivery job, unfazed by the previous night's events. Meanwhile, Andre, fueled by determination, embraces his role as a consultant. He decides to work overtime, driven by the urgent need for money. However, he is soon called into his boss's office regarding his background check. Despite his hard work and impressive sales, the decision is final. He is being let go. Overwhelmed with anger, Andre packs his things and storms out of the office. As the tension between Andre and his boss, John, reaches a boiling point, a young man approaches them, trying to sell marijuana. This only aggravates Andre further. The young man, named Rodney, soon finds Michael during his deliveries. To avoid further annoyance, Michael jots down Rodney's number, only to erase it immediately afterward without saving it. Struggling with a challenging delivery, Michael decides to enter a nearby luxury building for assistance. He also takes the opportunity to ask a friend to reserve a table at a restaurant for the weekend. He plans to propose to Dion. When Gabriel learns of Michael's plan, he enthusiastically supports him, noting that with a new house and car, it is the perfect moment. Michael successfully convinces Gabriel to help him arrange the romantic dinner. Meanwhile, Taser is recovering in the hospital from a stab wound to the abdomen. His friends visit to apologize for abandoning him during the fight. They assure him that if a similar situation arises again, they will stand by him. They even discuss plans to retaliate against Chucky's gang, the Sixers. Coincidentally, Michael also visits the hospital to see his mother. While there, two representatives from the Sickle Cell Blood Center approach him, seeking to provide counsel as Michael's family has encountered challenges due to the illness. The representatives explain that those with sickle cell disease are receiving extensive care at their center, with numerous facilities worldwide. The first one has just opened in London, equipped with state-of-the-art resources and offering care at 50% lower costs than hospitals. Michael is eager to learn more about this organization, as he desperately wants to take his mother there for treatment. However, the mysterious center is not as straightforward as it seems. Jay, a girl who has been missing for months, exhibits signs of distress during their conversation. Her family has been unable to locate her, raising alarms about the true nature of the facility. In stark contrast to Jasmine's plight, Michael and Dion bask in happiness. With Friday finally here, Michael eagerly anticipates their dinner that evening, where he plans to propose to her. His heart races with excitement as he envisions the moment. While making deliveries, Michael inadvertently enters the territory of the Tower Boy gang. As they approach him for protection money, tensions flare quickly. Without any agreement, a brawl erupts. In the chaos, Taser lunges forward, stabbing Michael with a knife before the gang flees, leaving him gasping for breath on the asphalt. In that critical moment, Michael's vision begins to blur, and he suddenly finds himself back at the moment he parked his delivery vehicle. Unbeknownst to him, he has awakened a unique superpower, the ability to turn back time. Confused and disoriented, he still hasn't grasped the significance of this newfound ability. The protection racket resumes, but this time Michael hears a voice echoing in his mind, "Taser is killing someone." This revelation shifts something within him. Instead of resisting, he vows to pay the protection money, effectively avoiding another violent encounter. Taser, recognizing a change, merely issues a warning instead of escalating the situation. Meanwhile, Rodney is struggling with car troubles. His boss threatens him, insisting he reach the illicit marijuana selling location within 10 minutes or face termination. In a panic, Rodney sprints after a departing bus. However, this frantic chase inadvertently triggers his own superpower, super speed. The burst of energy is so overwhelming that Rodney loses control and tumbles into the street. Rodney is bewildered by his sudden speed, realizing he has somehow ended up in Scotland instead of London. Confused and disoriented, he tries to make sense of what has just happened, questioning how he could have traveled such a distance in mere moments. Meanwhile, Andre is facing a series of relentless challenges. His son is at home hungry while Andre finds himself with empty pockets and a negative bank balance. To make matters worse, his former employer has refused to pay him after his dismissal. In a fit of rage, Andre's eyes begin to change, reflecting his growing frustration. He unleashes his anger by punching an ATM, causing the wall to shudder and the machine to spit out cash uncontrollably. Unbeknownst to him, the entire scene is captured by a nearby security camera. At the same time, sisters Sabrina and Charlene are gearing up for a confrontation. Sabrina suspects her boyfriend is cheating on her. When they see a delivery person arrive, they approach the door, ready to confront Kevin, Sabrina's boyfriend. To prevent Charlene from escalating the situation, Sabrina instructs her to wait in the car. When Kevin steps out, he shows no remorse. As Sabrina confronts him, her eyes begin to shift. In a swift motion, she sends him crashing back against the door of his house. The confrontation ignites a surge of power within her, revealing the depths of her frustration and strength. Meanwhile, at the restaurant, Michael tries to focus on his romantic dinner with Dion, but the events of the day linger in his mind. Although he shares his thoughts with Dion, he feels that what he experienced was too vivid to dismiss as mere coincidence. After pushing aside his worries, Michael finally gathered the courage to propose to Dion. The couple's approval was met with applause from the guests at the next table, and just like that, they shared a passionate night after returning home. Suddenly, Michael's eyes changed again, and he found himself transported to a strange setting. Before him stood individuals with superpowers, mirroring his own newfound abilities. Among them was a future version of himself, who revealed that he was fighting against a dark force. This future Michael had gained the power to freeze time and had brought his past self to a graveyard. The future Michael explained that 3 months after the proposal, a series of catastrophic events would unfold, leading to Dion's untimely death. Desperate to change fate, the future Michael urged his past self to take action and prevent this grim future. Back in the present, Dion grew increasingly anxious over Michael's sudden disappearance. When he finally reappeared, it startled her, intensifying her fear. Michael heard Dion say that he had vanished right before her eyes, confirming that the bizarre events were real. He immediately jotted down the names of those he had encountered and told Dion that he had just traveled to the future. Meanwhile, Andre was confused about the money he had just withdrawn from the ATM. Unsure how to handle the unexpected cash, he wrestled with his next move. Rodney, on the other hand, attempted to showcase his super speed in front of a crowd. However, things didn't go as planned, and he faced a barrage of mockery from spectators. Spotting a nearby drug dealer, Rodney suggested selling his own stash to raise money for his return to London. As Michael sat with Dion, he recalled the warning from his future self. He must not let the hooded gang approach Taser, Andre, Sabrina, or Rodney. If even one of them were to die, Dion's life would also be in jeopardy. Though he found it hard to believe, he resolved to protect these 4 individuals. His first step was to find Gabriel and discuss the impending chaos. However, Gabriel was skeptical of Michael's claims. He asked Michael to demonstrate his powers to prove the truth of his story. Despite his efforts, Michael's eyes showed no signs of change, making Gabriel believe that his close friend was simply under too much stress. The next day, on the streets of London, a mass gang movement was causing trouble. Even on bicycles they displayed their distinctive style. It was none other than the Tower Boys. They were arranging a meeting with the Sixers to seek revenge. As they moved through the streets, they mistook a passing man for a member of the Sixers and immediately apprehended him. Taser, however, noticed that the man seemed like an ordinary civilian and ordered his release. But just then one of the gang members recognized the man as a true member of the Sixers, sparking a chaotic chase. The Tower Boys quickly turned and fled when they saw the overwhelming number of Sixers charging at them. Unfortunately, Taser was swiftly captured. Chucky, the Sixers leader, removed his mask, revealing himself. In this tense moment, Taser's eyes changed, and he suddenly vanished from sight. Now invisible, Taser began attacking each member of the Sixers, causing them to panic and scatter in fear. Shortly after, Chucky was struck in the neck and collapsed to the ground. Only then did Taser slowly reveal himself, leaving the remaining gang members in disbelief at what had just transpired. Unfortunately, the entire incident was captured by surveillance cameras, and members of a mysterious organization quickly set their sights on Taser. Meanwhile, Andre, after receiving a large sum of money, took his son shopping. However, he grew frustrated when his son ran off to socialize with a group of thugs on the street. Andre insisted that his son delete the phone numbers of these troublemakers immediately. Rodney, filled with excitement, accidentally activated his super speed while walking down the street. Meanwhile, Taser began gaining control over his invisibility. When he visited a member of his gang, he demonstrated his ability, leaving the guy thrilled. Taser then mentioned that he would use this power to take over other gangs and change their operations to generate profit. Later, when Taser met with his crew, he showcased his invisibility, startling them. At first, they thought they were hallucinating due to the marijuana they were using. Afterward, Taser devised a plan for the group to get involved in the Sixers' drug trade, especially now that Chucky was dead. Their initial shipment would consist of 1 kilogram of drugs. That evening, Michael sought out 2 members of the Tower Boys, knowing his main objective was to find Taser. After negotiating, the gang demanded £1 for a phone number, but it turned out to be for a drug addict rather than Taser. Just then, the Sixers showed up, guns drawn, and Michael found himself caught in the ensuing brawl. In the chaos, he managed to teleport back home, holding a bullet that had been fired at him. It seemed he had accidentally frozen time. Dion, witnessing the bullet in his hand, was no longer as frightened as before. Meanwhile, 2 of Taser's henchmen were sent to pick up illegal goods for a transaction. Since it was their first time, they were nervous, but they had no choice but to proceed with the deal. Unexpectedly, Taser appeared with a package in hand and returned to the car, marking the gang's first successful delivery. Shortly after, Tussie, who had just lost 1 kilogram of drugs, arrived with his crew. Faced with 2 guns, the tension in the air was thick. However, Tussie hadn't actually seen anyone from the Tower Boys take the drugs. Sensing the hostility, Taser proposed a one-on-one fight, and Tussie agreed, ready to defend his gang's honor. But as the fight began, Taser took a punch squarely to the face. As Tussie was speaking, Taser charged forward, wrapping his arms around him and delivering a flurry of knees to his chest. The situation turned dire for Tussie's gang. Then suddenly a gunshot rang out, abruptly ending the fight. Tussie had to endure the humiliation of retreating to his vehicle, while, surprisingly, the gang leader Crazy chose not to escalate the conflict and accepted defeat. Just as one of Taser's henchmen celebrated, another gunshot went off, and he fell to the ground. This ignited a fire of vengeance in Taser, who vowed to retaliate against Crazy and his gang. The following morning, Michael successfully teleported onto his delivery truck, leaving him both thrilled and bewildered. After regaining his composure, he attempted to use his powers again to teleport home. However, he became anxious, fearing that Dion would be in danger if he continued to use them. Meanwhile, Dion was engaged in her social work. Her next stop was Taser's home, where she learned that his mother, Kemi, had been missing for 2 weeks. The family was distraught, and it became clear that the person responsible was none other than the woman who had fled at the beginning of the story. At that moment, her body was being dissected by the mysterious organization for research purposes. The number of blood vials in the cabinet indicated that many victims had fallen to this organization. Meanwhile, Sabrina, a nurse, was administering medication when she accidentally injected an excessive dose. Frightened by the strange occurrence, she fled to the storage room. At that moment, her eyes changed and medical supplies began to levitate around her. Disturbed by this bizarre development, Sabrina hurriedly left the hospital and returned home. Her younger sister, Charlene, found her behavior odd and questioned her sudden appearance. Sabrina explained her newfound ability to move objects with her mind, but Charlene found it hard to believe. At the same time, Michael had taken his mother to a care center for patients with sickle cell disease. The facilities there were impressive, leading Michael to decide to bring her monthly. After days of searching, Michael finally spotted Taser. He teleported right in front of him, surprising everyone present. Michael then began to speak about a powerful force that would hunt down individuals with abilities like theirs. He proposed that Taser join him in forming a group to protect one another. Although Taser found it hard to believe, witnessing Michael's teleportation caused him to waver slightly. Michael then teleported to his friend Gabriel, startling him in the process. This time, Gabriel truly believed in the existence of superpowers. The two of them began discussing how to locate the remaining individuals with abilities. During their conversation, Michael remembered that Rodney had once invited him to buy drugs, but he had accidentally deleted Rodney's number. With Gabriel's suggestion, Michael decided to search for Rodney in the area where they had met. Meanwhile, Rodney was showcasing his super speed to his friend Spud. In his excitement, the demonstration resulted in an accident that injured Rodney. However, to his surprise, the wound on his forehead began to heal miraculously, which only increased Spud's fear. Despite his abilities, Rodney found that using super speed drained a lot of his energy, and he was perpetually hungry. He even devoured his meal in mere seconds to ensure he wouldn't be late for a delivery. As Michael continued his search for Rodney on the streets, he finally managed to get a lead from a guy who provided him with Rodney's phone number. That night, Crazy visited Sabrina and Charlene's home. Having been Charlene's boyfriend before going to prison, Crazy brought a lavish diamond watch as a gift for her. Seeing the extravagant present, Charlene immediately forgave Crazy for his past mistakes. However, Sabrina couldn't accept Crazy's presence and warned him not to get involved with her younger sister. To protect Charlene, she decided to accompany her to the dinner party that night. Meanwhile, Andre was experimenting with his powers, demonstrating his ability to bend and even collapse objects, including a car. He called his friend John over, and when John arrived to see Andre lifting the car, he was understandably shocked. At the same time, Rodney was recklessly using his super speed to deliver drugs as quickly as possible, an action that inevitably attracted the attention of the mysterious organization. Rodney was also set to meet Michael to discuss a drug deal, but before he could arrive, an enigmatic figure in a hood approached him. Rodney attempted to activate his powers but failed. Fortunately, Michael arrived just in time to dodge a fireball aimed at them. He quickly teleported Rodney to a nearby bar, which happened to be where Sabrina and Charlene were attending the party. Back at the bar, Charlene found herself being harassed by a man. Just as things escalated, Sabrina appeared and delivered a flurry of punches to take him down. However, to their surprise, the man turned out to be another individual with the ability to fly. He couldn't get close to Sabrina as she used her ability to move objects to keep him at bay. In that moment, Charlene finally believed her sister's claims about her powers. However, the man they had just defeated was part of the mysterious organization, and Sabrina was now marked as a target. Meanwhile, Rodney remained skeptical of Michael's explanations. No matter how much Michael insisted, Rodney stubbornly walked away, unwilling to accept the reality around him. As dawn broke, Andre faced trouble at home. Collectors from New Man had come to his door. Despite his efforts to shoo them away, they refused to leave, igniting Andre's anger. Just as he was about to confront them, his son appeared. Realizing his father was in debt, the boy handed over his phone to the collectors. With no choice, Andre reluctantly surrendered all the money he had left to reclaim his son's phone, feeling like a worthless father in the process. At the same time, Sabrina contemplated turning herself in for the murder to protect her younger sister. When she arrived at the police station, however, she learned that only a minor scuffle had occurred at the nightclub the previous night. Relieved yet confused, Sabrina quietly left the station. Once again, Michael sought out Rodney, emphasizing that the masked thugs would relentlessly pursue them. Spud, understanding the gravity of the situation, convinced Rodney to attend this meeting. Spud spoke about the butterfly effect, explaining how Michael's teleportation to the future might have altered their current paths. If Michael hadn't shown up, they might not even be having this conversation. Despite this, Rodney remained stubborn, refusing to join Michael in the search for the others. Meanwhile, Sabrina returned to the scene of the previous night's chaos, only to find it completely cleaned up. Disturbed, she hurried home to tell Charlene, realizing that someone must have come to remove the body and cover up what had happened. At the same time, Andre was interviewing for a new job, but his past as a drug dealer haunted him, leading to rejection. Frustrated, he sought out his friend John, who proposed a risky plan, to break into a drug dealer's warehouse and steal their money. Just then, Michael happened to enter a cafe adjacent to them. After getting out of the car, Andre missed the movie date with his son. Disappointed, his son ended up joining the same gang of thugs they had encountered before. Andre and John were indeed on their way to the drug dealer warehouse, a place not only for manufacturing but also for conducting illicit drug deals. After scouting the area, Andre decided they would act that very night. To his surprise, the warehouse was run by none other than Crazy. The gang was struggling to sell their product as a newcomer. Rodney was stealing their customers. Meanwhile, while Rodney slept, Spud received a call that was part of Crazy's trap to capture him. Coincidentally, Michael was delivering a package to Sabrina's house at the same time. Seizing the moment, he revealed Sabrina's superpower, showcasing his own abilities to earn her trust. However, chaos ensued when Charlene discovered a letter Sabrina had left behind, leading to a tense chase among the three. Michael pleaded with the sisters to join him so he could explain everything. That night, Taser's gang was also planning to take down Crazy and was headed to the warehouse. Simultaneously, Andre was gearing up for his own mission, while Michael and the sisters were on their way to the warehouse for Charlene to buy some drugs from Crazy. Just as they were arriving, Michael's mother called, panicking about a vascular crisis. Michael immediately rushed off, leaving Sabrina and Charlene in shock at his sudden departure. Meanwhile, Spud, Rodney's friend, was captured by Crazy's men and brutally beaten. As Sabrina and Charlene were in the process of purchasing drugs, Taser's gang arrived at the warehouse. The sound of gunfire immediately drew everyone's attention inside, leading to a chaotic shootout. As Crazy's henchmen scrambled for an escape, Rodney, noticing that Spud had not returned, rushed to the warehouse. Upon arrival, he was met with the cacophony of gunfire. At that moment, Andre also broke through the door, and a confrontation between the group of powered individuals commenced. As Taser fired his weapon, a bullet struck the safe Andre was holding, ricocheting off. Before it could cause harm, Sabrina manipulated it midair, redirecting its path. Seizing the opportunity, Rodney used his super speed to create a distraction, allowing Andre to subdue Taser by bending his gun. With the immediate threat neutralized, Andre grabbed the safe while the sisters took the chance to escape. But the events of the night had not gone unnoticed. A mysterious organization had been watching, recording every move of these superpowered individuals. As dawn broke, Spud was rushed to the hospital. Coincidentally, Sabrina was there as well. When she saw Rodney, she reluctantly agreed to care for Spud after he was discharged. Rodney, however, faced a cold reception at home. His stepfather despised him, and fearing the repercussions of the previous night, Rodney asked to stay. But his mother refused, leaving him with no choice but to return to his old rented room. Meanwhile, Crazy was made aware of the attack on his men. Enraged, he sent a message to Taser, by threatening his grandmother. When Taser returned home, he found that Crazy's men had already acted, injuring his grandmother as a warning. Charlene encountered Crazy. Dissatisfied with their business dealings, she confronted him. But Crazy responded with violence. In a fit of rage, Charlene grabbed a knife and chased after him. Elsewhere, Dion had been investigating Jasmine's disappearance. She returned with troubling news. Jasmine had been kidnapped by a secretive organization that targeted people with superpowers. Concerned for Dion's safety, Michael urged her to stop digging deeper. Their conversation was interrupted by a knock at Michael's door. It was Rodney. He had come to discuss his encounter with the same powered individuals Michael had been searching for. Unbeknownst to them, Dion overheard everything. She felt betrayed that Michael had been keeping secrets from her. But Michael insisted it was necessary for her safety. Michael and Rodney quickly sought out John, who, after some intimidation, reluctantly gave them Andre's phone number. Michael called repeatedly, but Andre never answered. Hours later, Andre finally returned the call, unaware that their conversation was being monitored. Before leaving, Andre had broken into the safe, only to find it empty. No money inside. Meanwhile, Taser and his gang were searching for leads on Crazy but stumbled into a police checkpoint. Drugs were found in their vehicle, and they were all arrested, except for Taser, who turned invisible and fled. Andre, on his way to meet Michael, was ambushed by a masked thug, who was far stronger than he expected. Lacking combat experience, Andre was quickly overpowered. Another assailant soon appeared, knocking him unconscious. Back at home, Michael grew increasingly anxious. Through a call with John, he learned that Andre had left home hours ago but never reached his destination. At the same time, Sabrina faced her own crisis. Charlene had gone missing. Just as worry set in, Michael and Rodney arrived at her house. Believing Andre had been captured, Michael feared they were all in danger. Meanwhile, Taser found himself pursued by another masked figure. Even his invisibility wasn't enough to escape. As he was being dragged away, he managed to stab the thug's leg with a knife. But another masked enemy appeared, this one wielding an electric orb. Just in time, Michael's group arrived, intercepting the attack. For the first time, the superpowered individuals faced off against the MK thugs. The masked thug wielding electricity advanced, but Michael quickly immobilized him. Rodney, curious, approached to investigate, but when Taser tried to attack, Michael teleported them both to a different space. Two more masked men emerged from behind, escalating the danger. Thinking quickly, Sabrina threw them aside with her power. But as her strength faded, Michael returned just in time. Together they managed to escape. Unfortunately, Rodney had suffered a severe burn during the fight. But to their astonishment, his wound began to heal before their eyes. Relieved, Michael and Sabrina exhaled in disbelief. They still needed to find Taser. After the intense battle, exhaustion overtook them. They collapsed onto nearby chairs, finally able to rest. Meanwhile, the leaders of the mysterious organization had been monitoring the entire fight, analyzing their abilities for their own purposes. While the others regrouped, Dion had received a lead on Jasmine's whereabouts from her father. The location, a dilapidated building known as Washington. Her father, Johnson, had kept a tracking device in Jasmine's bag. When she disappeared, he found her bag outside the Washington building, confirming it as the organization's hideout. But when Johnson attempted to intervene, he was threatened. If he dared return, they would harm Jasmine. With no one else to turn to, he put his trust in Dion. Determined, Dion called Michael repeatedly. But his phone was dead. Frustrated and out of time, she searched online for information on the Washington building, but found nothing useful. Meanwhile, Michael's group had just woken up. As he pieced together the recent events, Michael realized something chilling. The masked figures hadn't been trying to kill them, they were trying to capture them. At the secret facility, Andre regained consciousness. His wounds were severe, but then Jasmine was brought in. The leader of the organization, Ray, ordered her to heal Andre. Jasmine, possessing the power to cure any ailment, reluctantly obeyed that as soon as her hands touched him, Andre's injuries began to vanish. Ray wasted no time explaining. He had injected Andre with a power suppressant, a drug that nullified his abilities. Andre was no longer a threat. Ray then proposed a deal. Andre would work for the organization, capturing other powered individuals. In return, he would receive a salary and commission for each person he delivered alive. To persuade him, Ray revealed the truth about Andre's abilities. Andre was a supercell, a mutation caused by his parents' genetic condition, sickle cell disease. Not everyone had the potential to unlock powers. Ray claimed that their ultimate goal was to help powered individuals learn to control their abilities, to ensure they no longer posed a threat to society. It was a noble facade, but deep down Andre knew better. Still, Ray had one last incentive. A photo of Andre's son. The organization had threatened his child. Andre had no choice. As tensions escalated, Crazy called Taser, threatening his grandmother once more. At the same time, Dion, unable to wait any longer, headed to the Washington building to search for Jasmine herself. But before she could enter, she was harassed by Crazy's henchmen. Just as things turned dire, Michael's phone regained battery. He called Dion, learning that Crazy had summoned his men elsewhere. By the time Michael teleported to Dion's vehicle, the thugs had already left. But Dion's suspicion remained. The Washington building was the secret organization's hideout. Inside, Andre's son had unknowingly followed a gang of drug dealers to the very same location. Soon, Crazy and his right-hand man Tuzi arrived. Sabrina, filled with fury, demanded to know where her sister was. Sensing the danger, Michael's group backed her up. Then, without warning, Sabrina punched Crazy in the face. Tuzi reached for his gun, but Sabrina knocked it from his hands. Crazy charged at her, but she threw him aside. The group took the chance to escape. But just as they turned to leave, Taser appeared before Crazy, a knife in his hand. And then, a bolt of lightning shot across the room. Michael collapsed. Crazy had revealed his true power. The real battle had just begun. Crazy revealed himself as one of the masked attackers, joining the onslaught as his allies hurled fireballs and lightning strikes. While the attacks were countered with difficulty, Michael remained incapacitated and was ultimately taken away. Rodney fought fiercely, taking down several masked thugs, but the last one overpowered him. Before the final blow landed, Rodney managed to knock off his assailant's mask, revealing Andre underneath. To his shock, Andre had not betrayed them but had actually come to rescue Michael. Meanwhile, Crazy created a firewall to trap Taser, who was attempting to attack while invisible. Thinking quickly, Sabrina shattered the special glasses that allowed the masked figures to see Taser. In doing so, she inadvertently caused the death of one of the masked attackers. This enraged a female accomplice, who summoned a powerful gust of wind to restrain Sabrina. However, Taser acted fast, slashing the woman's throat to free Sabrina from peril. At this point, only Taser remained free while the rest of the group was being captured. As the door opened, he found himself face to face with a wounded Andre. Just as Taser prepared to strike, Michael miraculously regained consciousness and froze time. Seizing the moment, Michael approached Dion, waking her and urging her to return quickly. He then freed Andre, who explained that he had only sided with the masked figures because the secret organization had threatened his son and promised him money. As Michael's time freeze wore off, he quickly teleported one of the masked thugs away from the scene. However, Taser was caught off guard by Crazy, who delivered a powerful punch that sent him crashing onto Dion's vehicle. Dion rushed out to help, but before she could reach him, Sabrina was knocked out by another attacker. Just as Crazy prepared to strike Taser again, Andre intervened, while Rodney regained consciousness and tackled yet another assailant. Seizing the moment, Sabrina used her powers to manipulate a scaffolding beam, bringing it crashing down on one of Crazy's men. When Michael returned, he found the battle nearing its end. Crazy, now without his abilities, slowly regained his senses and, realizing he was outmatched, chose to surrender. In exchange for his life, he offered to lead Sabrina to Charlene and revealed a heartbreaking truth. Taser's mother had also been imprisoned by the organization but had been killed while attempting to escape. Rodney rushed to retrieve the portal device from Crazy, but just as he did, Crazy suddenly awakened his powers and began tearing through the group at alarming speed. It turned out that Crazy's ability allowed him to copy the powers of anyone he made physical contact with. One by one, Michael's team fell. Even Dion, watching in horror, felt completely helpless. In an instant, Crazy had already reached the car door. In this critical moment, Michael summoned the last of his strength to reverse time. He went back to the moment Crazy first began to wake up, intending to grab a knife from the ground. This time Michael was ready. The moment Crazy made his move, Michael struck first, taking decisive action. But amidst the chaos, Crazy managed to grab a gun. Just as he was about to fire, Rodney pulled Michael out of the line of fire, but the bullet struck Dion instead. That a chilling silence fell over the battlefield. The bullet had hit Dion in the neck. She gasped, her breath fading as she collapsed in Michael's arms. He desperately tried to reverse time again, but this time, it didn't work. Spud's warning echoed in his mind. The butterfly effect is real. No matter how hard Michael had tried, Dion could never escape her fate. It was only a matter of when it would happen. Everyone stood frozen, paralyzed by helplessness, watching as Dion's life slipped away. In the aftermath of the devastating loss, Michael gathered the group. Though heartbroken, he accepted that Dion was gone. But he also knew the fight wasn't over. Determined to put an end to the chaos, he made a fateful decision. He would travel into the future to uncover the mastermind behind the secret organization. Once he had the answers he needed, he would return. With a heavy heart, Michael vanished from their midst, marking the end of the first chapter of their harrowing journey. Make sure to subscribe for more movie recaps. Thanks for watching.